My flight instructor is going to be so proud of me when he sees me practicing my pattern work like he asked me to.
Hey, student pilot, what are you doing?
Oh, hi, Mr. Flight Instructor, sir. Do you like my pattern work?
Huh? That's not what I meant by pattern work. Practicing your pattern work literally means to practice your takeoffs and landings while remaining in the traffic pattern at your airport. There are 20 common mistakes that pilots might typically make while flying in the traffic pattern. Now, this is definitely not one of them.
The traffic pattern looks simple, familiar, routine, but it's also where pilots are made, where habits form, skills sharpen, and judgment matters.
Even experienced pilots can miss things. These are 20 common mistakes when flying in the traffic pattern, and how to avoid them.
Number 1, not rotating at the correct airspeed.
Too early is forcing it. Too late is wasting runway. The fix is simple. Know your aircraft's rotation speed.
Rotating too late limits your options in case you need to abort your takeoff, or clear an obstacle to gain altitude as quickly as possible.
Precision during the takeoff rotation sets the tone for the entire pattern.
Number 2, not remaining on the runway centerline during climb-out.
When you drift to either the left or right of the runway centerline, you lose the predictability of your traffic pattern, and a domino effect of potential pitfalls could occur. As your ground track shifts, your crosswind turn will be skewed and ill-timed, and your traffic separation assumptions could even fall apart.
Maintaining positive rudder control while relying on a fixed visual reference on the horizon will help you maintain the runway centerline. This will keep you exactly where other pilots expect you to be in the traffic pattern. The predictability this offers is not just good form, it's a safety tool.
Number 3, not climbing to a sufficiently high altitude before turning onto crosswind.
An early turn might look efficient, but it leaves you low, slow, and out of options. If something goes wrong, you've boxed yourself in.
Prioritize climb performance first, then turn crosswind from a position of strength. Altitude buys time, options, and safer decision-making.
In other words, don't be in a hurry to turn your turn onto crosswind.
Remember, altitude is your friend.
Number 4, failing to identify a suitable landing spot in case of an engine failure on takeoff.
All right, here we go. Please just get us up safely.
Hoping nothing goes wrong during takeoff is not a plan. Every takeoff should include a quick decision. Where am I going to land if the engine quits right now?
This decision has to be made before you need it. Once you become airborne, there's no time to debate, only time to execute. Pre-selecting a landing area eliminates hesitation and keeps your response immediate and controlled when seconds matter.
Okay, plenty of options straight ahead. That plowed field near the road looks best if the engine quits.
If the engine quits and you haven't already chosen a landing area, hesitation becomes your biggest enemy. A quick mental scan before takeoff, runway remaining, fields ahead, clear areas, gives you an immediate plan.
At this point, you should immediately be able to rule out whether or not you can even execute the so-called impossible turn.
Remember, aviate first, then navigate. The best engine out plan is the one you already committed to, before the wheels even left the ground.
Number 5, not flying a square traffic pattern.
Flying a square traffic pattern gives you clear and predictable decision points. Flying level on downwind, entering the landing configuring when Abeam the numbers, turning onto base from a predictable position, and turning onto final approach at a predictable altitude and airspeed.
When the legs of your traffic pattern aren't clearly defined, your spacing, timing, and altitude controls start to wander. A rounded or sloppy traffic pattern might feel smoother, but it destroys consistency. The traffic pattern isn't for freestyle flying, it's structured airspace.
When the pattern turns into more of a curved arc than a perfect rectangle, everything else starts to fall apart like dominoes. Spacing, descent timing, even your final approach. Square patterns lead to stable approaches, and a stable approach is essential for a stable landing.
Number 6, not leveling the wings when you're on the crosswind leg.
Leveling the wings on crosswind gives you time to stabilize the climb, to check for any potential conflicting traffic, and to set proper spacing. Turning continuously from upwind to downwind removes that safety buffer and makes the pattern rushed and less predictable.
All right, we're part of the way through the list. I just wanted to take a brief moment to invite you to hit the like button if you're finding the content of this video to be helpful. And be sure to hit the subscribe button as we will be producing more content for aspiring aviation enthusiasts like you. Number 7, not maintaining proper distance from the runway when you're on the downwind leg of the traffic pattern.
Flying too close to the runway compresses your base turn and forces steeper, rushed approaches. It also reduces your options if something doesn't go as planned. A proper downwind distance gives you time, spacing, and a stable setup for landing.
Too close to the runway, and you rush the base turn and risk destabilizing the approach. Too far from the runway, and you're tempted to dive, drag it in, or stretch the glide.
Number 8, not maintaining proper crosswind correction throughout the traffic pattern.
Ignoring the wind on downwind changes your ground track and ruins your spacing. You might think you're parallel to the runway, but you're actually drifting closer or farther away.
Crab into the wind and fly a ground track parallel to the runway.
Fly a parallel ground track, not a parallel heading. If you're drifting, the wind is winning.
Number 9, not making proper radio calls throughout each leg of the traffic pattern.
While radio calls in a non-towered traffic pattern aren't mandatory, they may as well be. As pilot in command, it is imperative that you clearly announce your current position and any change in positions within the pattern in order to provide maximum situational awareness for other aircraft. Wouldn't you expect the same from other pilots?
Radio calls are a no-brainer as a collision avoidance tool. If pilots in the pattern have to guess where each other are, this would be a clearly unavoidable safety hazard.
Number 10, failing to maintain a constant airspeed and altitude throughout the traffic pattern.
Failing to maintain a constant airspeed and altitude makes the entire pattern unstable. It forces you to have to make constant corrections, which can cause you to fall behind the airplane. Use proper pitch, power, and trim to maintain a constant airspeed and altitude, and only make small, minor, and deliberate adjustments as necessary. A stable pattern makes a stable approach almost automatic.
Stability is built early. If the pattern is sloppy, the approach will be too.
All right, you've made it this far into the video. As a token of appreciation, I invite you to click on the link in the description below this video where you can get a free download of the Private Pilot Checklist Toolkit. Number 11, not timing the configuration of your landing setup correctly.
If you delay entering into the landing configuration, every step downstream becomes rushed.
On the other hand, if you enter into the landing configuration too early, you end up dragging the airplane around the pattern. Abeam the numbers is your trigger point, power reduction, configuration, and a planned descent.
When that moment is consistent, the rest of the approach falls neatly into place.
Number 12, not pitching for the proper airspeed, power setting, and vertical descent rate during the landing phase of your traffic pattern.
If you keep chasing your airspeed with the throttle, or try to control glide path with pitch, the approach quickly falls apart. Pitch controls airspeed, power controls your rate of descent. When you understand this inverse relationship of the power curve, the airplane settles into a stable, predictable approach instead of a constant correction cycle.
Number 13, not following the landing checklist to a T.
Checklists exist to maintain discipline and to prevent avoidable mistakes during every phase of flight.
Complacency and taking shortcuts with the pre-landing checklist can have a compounding effect under the increased workload involved with landing preparation.
Number 14, not keeping the runway numbers on the center of your windshield during final approach.
If the numbers start drifting up, down, or side to side on your windshield, your approach is already becoming unstable. That visual cue tells you immediately whether your glide path and alignment are correct. Maintaining constant pitch and power will help to keep you stable on the glide path down to the runway.
Number 15, not maintaining a stable airspeed and power setting in order to assure a stable approach on final.
Again, maintaining a stable pitch attitude and a stable power setting will yield a constant airspeed and descent rate, which are the key elements of a stable approach to landing.
Number 16, not maintaining proper crosswind correction on final.
If you're drifting sideways toward the runway, the wind is flying the airplane, not you. Final approach demands active correction to maintain runway alignment and centerline tracking. Whether you're crabbing or using a wing load technique, the goal is the same. Control drift early so the landing doesn't become a last-second scramble.
Number 17, not maintaining proper crosswind correction during the landing flare.
Maintaining proper crosswind correction during the landing flare not only prevents drift, but also prevents unwarranted side load on the landing gear during touchdown.
This is achieved by using crossed controls. Use opposite yoke and opposite rudder to keep the upwind wing low and to keep the nose pointing straight down the center line.
Number 18, flaring too early or too late.
If you flare too early, you may end up ballooning the airplane and running the risk of stalling the airplane while still too high, resulting in a hard landing. If you flare too late, you may end up bouncing off the runway due to the excessive airspeed and becoming airborne again.
You time the flare using visual cues, not altitude numbers. As you cross the runway threshold, shift your eyes toward the far end of the runway. When the ground stops rushing up and starts sliding underneath you, begin a smooth, gradual pitch-up. Don't yank it. Keep the nose off the runway for as long as possible. Let the airplane bleed off airspeed until it stalls just inches above the pavement.
Number 19. Riding the brakes on landing.
Keeping your feet on the brakes during the landing roll can actually jeopardize directional control and stability, especially in situations where a crosswind might still be imposing a side load upon the airplane. This can pose a serious hazard, especially when your goal is to remain on the runway centerline during the landing roll. Let aerodynamic braking do the work first, allowing the airplane to slow down under its own inertia. Reduce flaps to 0 to reduce any residual lift. Then brake smoothly and deliberately once the plane has sufficiently slowed down under its own momentum.
And finally, number 20. Not following a proper post-landing checklist during the landing rollout, which includes items such as retracting the flaps during the landing rollout.
Leaving the flaps down during the landing rollout reduces braking effectiveness and makes the airplane more vulnerable to crosswinds during rollout. It also increases the chance of debris damage or unnecessary wear. Once you're safely on the runway and under control, retract the flaps to clean up the airplane and improve ground handling.